Maybe you want to digest it.
It's quite heavy.
Yeah.
More than this bad. Not that bad.
Yeah, I also see it for the first time in the big screen, and honestly, yeah, but I think it's really, I mean, it's like, I don't know how they did it, the ambition, because they give like very, you know, picture by picture through the story. For me, it was just 2 hours interview and transcribing, and listening to it, and listening to all these unbelievable stories about tortures and prisons and what's going on, how people are not provided with treatment, with support, and everything. But for them, it was really like picture to picture, they had to figure it out. And I can imagine, it took us like 12 years to do this. It's actually the same year as my organization started, in 2009. And here the whole foundation. The first thing we did, even before we got registered, we published the story. We just went by the interview. And people read it and they were like, what? This can't be happening. We're not like these Nazi camps. Well, in some way we are. We saw the gas chamber. It's documented. So yeah, so we just published the story and we started the organization and we said we want to, these people get heard. And still the situation is the same. It's still the same, nothing has changed. People don't get access to treatment in prison still, 2020. COVID, I don't even want to, nobody even knows what's going on in Russian prison, honestly. And nobody wants to know. So yeah, unfortunately it hasn't changed. We still have the same government, we still have the same prison, everything. We still have the same drug policy. Where your mother puts you in prison because that's her only hope. So I'm like super grateful to Ishtvan that he finished his story. He said that it was his achievement, like almost life achievement, but very important story for him. I'm super grateful because you know how these things sometimes it's a good idea, but they never come to life. And it's really great that it came to life. It's a super sad story, but it's what's going on. And it's still going on, and we have to deal with it every day. Today I received letters from prisons, you know. We cannot even like sue the prisons for access to medication because nobody wants to complain. And Kostya was one of the people who wanted to act, wanted to do something. And there are still a lot of people, I'm very proud, like if you saw Ира Теплинская, Vanya Moshkin, Lyoshka Munaevsky, and they're still fighting. They're still fighting back. We lost this case on the European Court on Human Rights. Yeah, it was voted like the worst decision in history of Yeah, the case was for access to substitution treatment. It's a baseline care for opioid dependence in every country of the world. You know, it's not some kind of controversial or innovative treatment. It's a base, like mainstream treatment. It's nobody discusses anymore. In Russia, it's illegal. Why? Long KGB, I don't know, 20 years ago, something, 30 years ago, long, very complicated story. It's illegal. So they were actually like applying to the European Court to get access to this basic treatment. And the European Court reviewed it for, I think, 7 years, 8 years, and they decided that this is up to the government to decide that they want to provide access to treatment, and that OSC is still controversial. It wasn't the court decision, so they didn't even inform themselves that we're talking about the gold standard. Anyway, it's really great that these people, I mean, it's always depressing, but it always gives a lot of optimism that these people exist. We have forum of people who use drugs in Russia. It's a very active, great enthusiasts. We still have Andrei Rykov Foundation, we have a lot of volunteers, and we're doing day-to-day work with people who use drugs. And of course, we hope that the world will not forget about us. I mean, there are so many priorities now. There is COVID, there is a lot of poor country. Russia is a well-off country. We are rich. which dictatorship, good dictatorship. So yes, so nobody wants to help us anymore. Kind of like hopeless case. But Anke will maybe talk more about it. She has to deal with it from this side. So I'm really thankful that you are still interested and that you came to listen to the story and that you are supportive. And I'm really happy that the story still can be heard. And thank you so much.
Many credits to Anja, because I think you have a very strong activist who raises this issue about the drug policies and the people with drugs in Russia all the time. You constantly put it on the agenda, and we are really very grateful to you. I also thank you for Machteld and the Poppy Museum to allow us to show this video, and it's really a very emotional film. And when you look at it, there were so many opportunities to save the life of Kostya. And it is incredible that it didn't happen. You know, if he could continue his treatment for his HIV in the prison, that would have maybe stopped even his tuberculosis. Because we know that HIV reduces your immune system and that you're more vulnerable for tuberculosis. And then if his tuberculosis was also treated much earlier, and if he was given indeed opiate substitution treatment, then he would have been with us still. And I think that makes it so sad that these doctors are so ignorant that they don't know even. And you know, AFEW works already for many years in prisons. We are one of the few NGOs who were and are allowed to enter prisons and actually, we do advocate for the health and rights of prisoners. So we had lots of programs to actually have the discussion on treatment of HIV, but also how to protect yourself against HIV. We have that in the discussions with the prison authorities. We started peer education programs so that prisoners can inform their fellow prisoners how to protect themselves. We started also programs to continue treatment. Once you have started the treatment in prison, that you can continue the treatment also when you are released. And so also to make sure that the prisoners, ex-prisoners, don't get lost. We have set up halfway houses to make sure that prisoners also can prepare themselves to return to society. So we are very much concerned about what is happening in prisons. And we do, of course, what we are doing is you know, it's maybe a drop in the ocean, but I think it is still very important that organizations like the Anke Foundation and the HIV activists and us are really drawing attention to the rights of people, of prisoners, because they have also human rights. And I think maybe Gerda, you can explain a little bit about that, because what you have seen is really human rights are so violated in human territory. So we are part of the Health in Prison project run by WHO Europe, and Gerda was also a very active member in that Health in Prison project. And together we are really trying to put the rights of prisoners to good treatment on the agenda. And you know, there are UN standards. There are minimum standards for good treatment for prisoners. These are called the Nelson Mandela rules. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in 2015 they were established. So, you know, we have the declarations and the treaties whatsoever. We have it on paper, and authorities have the responsibility also to take care of the people that they detain. So it's really unacceptable what has happened, and it's also very unacceptable that it is still happening now.
What more can I say?
Thank you for the introduction of your background.
Okay, I'm Gerda van Dam, I was strategic policy advisor at the Custodial Institutions entity of the Ministry of Justice and Security in the Netherlands. I'm retired now, still active in prison health, in particular in Ukraine. I work for a small foundation that works in Ukraine to support prison personnel and personnel professionals in juvenile institutions to do their work in a proper way and educate and train them. That's my background now. When I saw this film, I was thinking of a statement by Fyodor Dostoevsky in Russia. Dostoevsky. A civilization of society can be judged by entering its prisons, and well, I think that says it all. I know these things are happening in many places of the world, but I'm always shocked. And this movie also was very shocking to me. But it's so incomprehensible to believe that those in power can act like this and do things like this and maybe think they are doing good to their society, but they aren't. In contrary, because it will really boomerang back in the form of hatred, violence, more criminality in the society. And also when it comes to healthcare, when you don't have good prison healthcare, then prisons will act as a revolving door for illnesses and infectious diseases. When prisoners come out of the prison into society and they are still ill, they have infectious diseases with them, that will not make the society healthier. They will spread the disease in the society. And in prison, you will have a big chance that the diseases and infectious diseases especially will only accelerate. So they come out of the prison more ill than they came in. And that's why I would like to stress that prison health is really a human right. Good prison health is very important for the health of your society, and at WHO we therefore say that prison health is public health. That would be my statement. Yeah.
Anya, maybe it's nice for people to hear a bit more about your foundation, because I'm interested in what you're trying to do with the little loads of energy that you have. What are you trying to do with your foundation?
Yeah, well, we also started in 2009, and we have a group of enthusiasts. We started to do harm reduction work in Moscow. Before that, there was some attempts to do harm reduction in Moscow, but there was belief that the authorities in Moscow do not support harm reduction, and we thought, okay, authorities, when they come to us, we talk to them. So we started this providing needles and condoms and so on, but also we started this line, so telling the stories, documenting all the human rights abuse and violations, all spheres of life. We recorded for all the spheres of life. We report to every UN committee that reviews Russian adherence to the international covenants, and treaties and conventions. Everything that relates to political, civil rights, health, women. So we document the abuse, we report it to the committees, we do strategic litigation. We have a lot of cases in the European Court, and by the way, Irina, the mother, she received compensation. Of course, 10 years after his death, but she received the compensation from the EU. Of course, it's nothing, when you get 20,000 euros for the death of your son, but there is still some justice. So I'm trying to get there. We know in Russia it's impossible because everything is corrupt, all the courts and all the systems. So for us, the only hope is the only place of justice is the European court still. So so we're doing this, we're doing daily service, we're doing a lot of work with mass media, and we have a lot of support from, Twitter community. Yes, actually it's going very well, and like every sane person in Russia who can think and read and know some buttons on the keyboard, they understand that drug policy should not be like that. The drug policy is not supposed to kill people. So we're trying to do this work, we're trying to educate the public. We have a journalist competition. I don't know, maybe some of you have met a journalist who was on a study tour in the Netherlands. So he wrote a story about Dutch Drugs Stories. He was an amok.
He was an amok?
He was, yes, he was allowed to do some interviews.
What was his name?
Gosha, but it was like 3 years ago. Anyway, so we're trying to promote good models. How can we do it? Because sometimes it's like, oh yes, but junkies, what can you do with them? Well, you can do a lot of things. Now, you know, I was just reading from the Reichenborg Group report. They opened because of COVID, they opened the shelter, the winter shelter for the summer. And people suddenly have place to live. And suddenly then they see that drug use drops. People are not using so many drugs, they're not drinking so much. They're not stressed in the morning because they slept in the boat or chased by the police. So there are a lot of things you can do actually. Just like, yeah, look at the Dutch, you know, well, maybe it's too high a standard, but so this is what we are doing. And we are happy when we started this foundation, our projection for maybe 2 years, 3 years, but we're still going on. We have, of course, a lot of pressure from the Russian government. Everybody knows about that. I complained a lot everywhere. We are foreign agents and have to admit it publicly by law. So we are foreign agents, we are fined for drug propaganda, so we also have to always fight back and fundraise for these crazy fines and so on. Now they want to have some criminal punishment for drug propaganda in Russia. Drug propaganda is harm reduction information. So we will fine with like 12,000 euro for publishing, newly psychoactive substances, methadone. So we published an article about the harms of methadone and how to reduce them for people in the newspaper for drug users, and we will fine for that. So things like that. I mean, we're still fighting, still strong, still even have some money. Elton John supported us last year, and we are looking forward. We hope that we'll get supported by the Global Fund for the day-to-day outreach. But of course, it's like, and now with COVID, I don't know what will be going on, but we are looking at also some other innovative models of funding, fundraising, I don't know. We'll figure it out, because since 2009 we're figuring it out every year, year by year. We'll figure it out. But thanks for support, and I'm really happy. I think it's like actually a super amazing and beautiful animation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I'd like to add to that, but I think in countries like Russia, but also the other Eastern European and Central Asian countries where we work, civil society organizations are so important. Because governments they don't take up the responsibility to take care of their citizens. So it's actually the NGOs who are doing that. So they provide services to vulnerable groups, to the key populations, as we call them, at risk for HIV/TB. But also their role as watchdog and to make the governments accountable for what they are doing is so important. And actually advocate for human rights for these most vulnerable groups in society. So it's really very important that civil society organizations can continue doing their work. And I will come back to that later, because I want to make two other statements, and that is that, and that is what we have seen also with COVID-19. So little funding is going to prisons anyway. It is really, it is how do you call it, the rest pot, so to say, for the budgeting. And what we have now seen also with the COVID-19 crisis, we got many requests to provide disinfectants and soap. Can you imagine? To prisons because they don't have it. Just to clean and wash your hands. And there is also no personal protection equipment. They don't have masks. So we get many requests. We have an emergency support fund. For that, we get many requests to provide, to give money so that they can purchase these kind of things. So that is, of course, you cannot imagine that is happening. And then my third point, and that is and that was also shown in the film, that for petty crimes like having drugs on yourself, you end up in prison, and that should not, that is, of course, we cannot accept that. And what we are now also trying to do, and in that respect, COVID-19 is maybe a good thing that happened to us, because that with COVID-19 we can show the horrible situations in prison. These are overcrowded, the buildings are horrible, very bad ventilation. So the risks to get an infectious disease like COVID-19 are very high. So we are with many NGOs. We have a call for early release for prisoners, but also actually to advocate for these small crimes not to be imprisoned anymore. People who do these small crimes not to be imprisoned, and find alternative punishments if it is needed. Well, there are so many things that we can do to stop people getting into prison, but also to take care of the people in prison, and we constantly have to advocate for that.
I think that the COVID-19 situation also is a situation in which governments have a chance of trying to use COVID-19 to put more pressure on prisons, and to misuse, to put pressure on human rights. But people don't have access to medication, they don't have access to any communication with their family or with friends, etc.
Yeah, no, that is also true. Yeah, that is indeed the other side.
Yeah.
So because of the lockdown measures, their relatives cannot visit the prisons, but also their lawyers also cannot enter the prison, so their trials are also jeopardized.
I know that in many countries in Eastern Europe, it happens that prisoners who they wanted to get rid of were put in a cell with a prisoner with TB, because that's a way to get a different prison without having scars. They don't have any signs of someone being tortured. Someone is dying of tuberculosis, not of torture. But I think especially in Belarus now, it really happens that people are put in a cell with COVID-19 prisoners.
This is really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was also torture, actually.
Yeah. And it's a way to torture people without having these scars.
Maybe just I would like to give you the final words. Actually, maybe you want to cry out. It's not stories. Maybe you have something that you want for the audience to really support you, whatever. But I think also it's nice for the audience to have a look around here at the expo, because you can see here very clearly that all of this is a political choice. How you deal with drug use in your society is a political choice. It's a choice to torture people in prisons. And you can also choose not to do so. It's actually cheaper with argument. Exactly. And it's not just one story, it's something that's systematic and it needs to be addressed. I think Anja wants to have final words, and then we can have a drink to sort of
Again, probably the words of thanks to you guys, because I mean, not often we have a chance to discuss this issue and share kind of what's going on, and it's like a story. It's my friend, so it's like really close, and it's also like Kostya said to his mother, who is going to listen to this story. If not you, who is going to listen? So it's really great that we all got to listen to the story. It's shocking, and I was like, I should tell Istvan to, put some trigger warning maybe, because it's really shocking sometimes. It's a lot of trauma. And I'm really grateful that you share it and that you all are working to stop this. Every one of you is working to stop this. And I'm super grateful to every one of you for doing it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to. Personality is almost never discussed. At all kinds of meetings, also at conferences. There's also prisoners who are vulnerable for HIV and TB. So that's indeed look for many opportunities to address this issue. And then really I have a call to the Minister of Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade, Minister Kaag, because she decided to not include Eastern Europe and Central Asia in her policy framework for the coming round of subsidies for sexual and reproductive health and rights and HIV. And Eastern Europe and Central Asia is one of the 3 regions in the world where cases of HIV are still increasing, and where we have 2 other epidemics, which is TB with multi-drug resistant tuberculosis and viral hepatitis. And furthermore, it is a very challenging region, and Anja already mentioned it, for NGOs to do their work because of restrictions, but there is also a lot of disrespect to NGOs and to the activities that NGOs do in our region. Care and support for key populations at risk for HIV, like Kostya, as a person with drugs in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, has been funded by the Dutch government for more than 2 decades. And the Ministry of Development Cooperation put a lot of effort to raise awareness on the many concerns in Eastern Europe and Central Asia during the AIDS conference in Amsterdam 2 years ago, and now they start the funding. And we ask the Ministry of Foreign Affairs urgently to continue with their role of important ally to civil society organizations in addressing the needs of key populations in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, to take up the responsibility and the moral obligation to support the people like Kostya, people who use drugs, who live with HIV, sex workers, LGBTI groups, prisoners, migrants, all who are left behind, by continuing the funding for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and that includes funding for harm reduction. Thank you. That's okay with that.